The studio lights glowed warmly across the Kelly Clarkson show set as the audience buzzed with excitement, their energy filling every corner of the room. Kelly Clarkson, all bright charm and steady warmth, leaned forward in her chair. Her guest, Tim McGraw, the country music icon, settled beside her in a clean black blazer and his familiar cowboy hat. He carried himself with calm confidence. His new album had just come out, and this interview was supposed to be a cheerful celebration. A talk about music, life, and what lay ahead. But beneath the friendly surface, something uneasy lingered, a tension no one could quite describe. Kelly, always a natural host, opened with her usual inviting tone. "Tim, it's great having you here," she said, her voice warm and sincere. "This new album feels honest and bold. People are already talking about it. What inspired it?" The crowd cheered, and Tim offered a small smile, tipping his hat. He talked about long nights writing, the stories behind the music, and how years on the road shaped the songs. But his replies were short, careful, as though he was choosing every word. At first, no one noticed. The audience was wrapped up in Kelly's lively presence, the way she made every moment feel comfortable. She asked about his work with younger artists and his thoughts on the changing country scene. But Tim's words grew sharper, edged with irritation that made Kelly pause. "I'm not chasing trends," he said quietly but firmly. "I make music for people who care, not for those scrolling for the next quick hit." The audience laughed, lightly, assuming he was joking, but Kelly recognized the seriousness. She tried to ease the moment. "Sure, but some new artists are bringing fresh ideas. That duet you did is taking off online. Fans love it." Tim's jaw tightened. "Fans love a lot of things," he said, his tone colder than before. The laughter faded quickly. Kelly tried to move things along, asking about tour plans, but Tim cut in. "Look, Kelly, I'm not here to talk about trending stuff. I'm here to talk about the music. Can we do that?" A heavy silence fell over the room. Kelly kept her smile, but her eyes showed concern. She nodded gently. "All right, let's talk music. Tell me what makes this album special." But the balance had shifted. Kelly leaned in, her voice softer. "Now, you've said this is your most personal album yet. What makes it so close to you?" Tim stiffened, gripping the armrests, his knuckles pale. He looked at the audience, then at Kelly. For a second, it seemed like he might relax. "This album," he said, voice low and rough, "is about what matters. Family, hard moments. The things that keep you up at night. Not all the noise out there." He gestured vaguely, maybe toward the world outside the studio. A few people clapped softly, unsure. Kelly tried to continue. "Your music always feels real. Is there a track that means the most to you?" Tim's jaw worked, his frustration showing. "They all matter. But I don't think people really listen anymore. They chase drama. They want a moment to share. Not the music itself." The challenge in his tone hung heavily in the air. Kelly met his eyes. "We're listening now," she said, steady but kind. "Tell us about one of the songs." Tim leaned back, giving a small, humorless laugh. "You want me to open up for the cameras so it can make headlines?" "That's not how this works." The audience shifted uncomfortably. Kelly's smile tightened, but she stayed calm. "I'm asking because your fans want to know what drives you, what makes this album different." Her words were genuine, but they struck a nerve. "You think it's about the fans?" Tim shook his head. "Half of them don't even buy music anymore. They just want a clip so they can pretend they know me." The studio felt smaller, the air thick with tension. The producer signaled for a break, but Kelly ignored him. She leaned in, her voice quiet. "I understand. The industry has changed, but you're still making powerful music. Why not share what it means to you?" Tim leaned forward, his voice sharp. "Because not everything should be sold. Not everything is a show." His words sliced through the silence. For the first time, the audience understood this wasn't just an awkward interview. Something deeper was happening. Kelly breathed slowly, her face composed but shadowed. She had handled tough guests before, but Tim's frustration felt personal. The producer signaled again, but she shook her head. "Tim," she said steadily, "I hear you, and I respect that. So tell us, what do you want people to feel from this album?" It was an opening, a way back. But Tim wasn't ready. He leaned back, sighing, his hat shadowing his eyes. "I want them to stop turning everything into a circus," he said finally. "Music meant something once. It was about feeling. Now it's just content. I'm tired. Kelly, I'm tired of pretending this is normal." Soft murmurs spread through the crowd. No one clapped. Kelly nodded slowly. "The industry can feel exhausting," she said. "But you're fighting for what matters. That still counts." Her words came from her own experience. But Tim only gave a thin, weary smile. "Fighting," he echoed. Then his tone sharpened. "You think this is fighting? Sitting under bright lights? Answering the same questions? Smiling for cameras? This is the game. And you're great at it? The audience gasped. Kelly's smile disappeared. She stared at him, stunned. The producer signaled urgently again. Kelly leaned slightly forward. That's not fair, she said quietly. I'm here because I love music. I'm not against you. The room was painfully silent. Tim looked at her, something unreadable passing through his eyes. Then he stood up suddenly, the chair scraping loudly. Maybe not, he said, but I'm done. And he walked off, his boots echoing across the stage as he vanished behind the curtain. Kelly sat frozen for a moment. Then she looked at the audience with a tight smile. Well, she said softly, that was unexpected. A few uneasy laughs followed. This show is about real moments, she added. Even when they get messy. Backstage, chaos erupted. The crew scrambled, the producer already calling, Tim's team, online. Clips of the moments spread fast. On stage, Kelly finished the segment with grace until the commercial break. Behind the scenes, Tim stood in a dim hallway. His manager demanded he return, but Tim refused. I'm done here, he repeated, walking away. When the show returned, Kelly steadied herself and spoke openly about music, the pressure of the industry, and the challenge of staying true. She didn't mention Tim, but everyone felt his shadow over the moment. Meanwhile, Tim drove away in silence, his phone buzzing nonstop. He thought about his music, about Kelly's reaction, about whether he'd gone too far. At a small diner miles away, he finally stopped. He ordered coffee, sat alone, and tried to breathe. Kelly wrapped the show with her usual energy, though those close to her saw the strain behind it. Later, in her dressing room, she avoided the flood of reactions online. She understood the pressure Tim felt more than she wanted to admit. Sitting alone in the diner, Tim checked his phone. One message stood out. You said what many of us feel? Hope it was worth it. He didn't know if it was. Not yet. But he felt, for once, that he had said something honest, even if the path ahead looked rough. Maybe, he thought, that was what music was supposed to be: imperfect, real, and honest enough to hurt.